Hi, I have a short video to post before I have a staff meeting for teaching. I have just a few minutes, but I will follow up with a longer response related to shepherdingwords.com. Every single link I click on there leads to one thing after another that isn't true. Brothers who wrote that from going to where Max Rappaport and John Ingalls forced out. Then you click on things like a revolution among the young people, and you click on there on a hyperlink that says turmoils. The historical turmoils I'm learning in the Lord's recovery have so much to do with brothers of responsibility trying to get gross immorality and sins that were targeting especially sisters like me, getting those immoral practices to stop. And so I just want to read one document, and it is the letter sent from the church in Stuttgart on September 17th, 1988. And I will leave a link to this in my posting. But I visited Stuttgart in December of 87 to January of 88. And yes, I had a lot of I didn't know what was wrong, but I also had just been molested in that last spring by Philip Lee, but was in complete denial that I'm just over modest and different things like that. But these brothers had tried to address it as well. And not only was Philip Lee doing that, but he was also being put in charge of things to where if people didn't treat him nicely, then he wouldn't give them seats in the semi-annual training. He did that to German saints that were trainees in Taipei, but they offended Philip Lee. So when they went to Anaheim for the semi-annual training, they were not given seats for the training. And then they appealed to, I think, Brother Lee, who then got them, quote, mercy seats, and they were able to sit in the semi-annual training. But they had traveled, from Germany to Taipei for a training, and then from Taipei to Anaheim, and then were given no seats because they offended Philip. So that, to me, isn't the way things should operate in the body of Christ. So anyway, here is that letter, and then I have to go to my meeting. From Die Gemeindekirche in Stuttgart, Kirche, mein Deutsch. Okay, so dear Brother Witness Lee, September 17th, 1988. It has come to our attention recently through several witnesses that gross immorality and some other sins mentioned in 1 Corinthians 5:11 have been committed by your son, Philip Lee, who is identified as your ministry office on more than one occasion over a long period of time. This deeply disturbs us. It grieves us even more that you and some of your close co-workers were aware of the situation and yet not only tolerated it, but covered it up. What is worse is that while this was happening, you and your co-workers were promoting and exalting him, Philip Lee, to the extent that he was able to intervene in church's affairs in recent years. The peak of this promotion was evident at your elders' training in Taipei in June of 1987. Some of your co-workers were not only themselves under the influence and control of Philip Lee, but were also openly bringing elders and young people of many local churches to come under the same influence and control in your name and for your sake. The 5 brothers whom you and your office sent to Europe in your place in May 1986 were trying to do the same here. Our young people who went to your training in Taipei have also testified of the same. Before God, before the brothers and sisters in the local churches, before the Christian public, and for the sake of the Lord's testimony, we are compelled by our conscience to fully disassociate ourselves from such sins and behavior in your work. And it's signed by, I believe, 22 brothers from quite a few localities in Europe. I wasn't told this. I was told that John So was ambitious and wanted to control the churches in Europe and leading them away from Brother Lee's ministry. But they their letter is altogether about the gross sins taking place and the over exalting of a man that was living in sin. And that is altogether right to say that if this is not being dealt with after appealing to you, coming to you many times, and there are many witnesses to this, then before God, before the brothers and sisters in the local churches, before the Christian public, and for the sake of the Lord's testimony, we are compelled by our conscience to fully disassociate ourselves from such sins. From sins and behavior in your work. That is not something any of us shouldn't dissociate ourselves from. Undealt with sins. So anyway, why isn't this letter quoted in the fermentation of the present rebellion? I would like to ask. Why is it that Philip Lee's repeated sexual assaults were not recorded as a major reason that so many brothers spoke up and then were ostracized, excommunicated, labeled as rebellious, labeled as conspiring? Anyway, I have more to say. Thank you.